Welcome to Stress Mess, a stressless podcast where the chaos is real, the caffeine is strong, and swearing sometimes happens, and that's okay. I'm Samantha Elizabeth, health and wellness coach, chronic overthinker, and proud BFFs to stress itself. Here we're ditching perfection, embracing unfiltered real talk, and making mindset shifts that might just keep us from screaming into the void. Let's get messy. On this episode of Stress Mess, I'm joined by my friend and brilliant human, Anh Nguyen. We go everywhere, from pandemic reflections to the complexities of DEI, and even down a few rabbit holes that required some real-time Googling. It's honest, curious, and full of kind of messy conversations this podcast is made for.
Hello. I know,
Hello.
as I'm taking the mosquito bite on my forehead. Holy moly, I had no idea it was even there.
On your forehead. Normally they don't bite you on your forehead, like back and neck. And
I didn't even feel it, right? So I don't know when it happened. Who knows?
Well, hello, Anh. Welcome to the podcast. I'm going to put my podcast voice on now. I'm just joking. That's not going to be my voice the entire time. People are going to be like, what the heck is going on? Yes, I'm going to talk like this the entire time.
Your reporter voice. Hello.
Yes, I know. I started training in California, and there were some courses that they made us take about how to have a no accent, and, how to talk very formally and how to not say things. Now that I'm in Texas, I have a little bit of a Southern drawl in my thing, but I'm also like slightly Canadian too. And I don't know where that comes from. So
well, I know people, who meet me for the first time or hear me on the phone or not see me or whatever. They're like,
yeah,
you have a little bit of a Texas accent. I was like, well, I grew up here. I learned how to speak English here when so what did you expect me to have?
Right.
I'm certainly not going to sound like I'm from New England
and that's where I was born, actually. So that's where my original accent comes from. And then I moved to California and I thought, oh, well, everybody's got like a Valley Girl accent. So that's the accent I was going to have. So I started doing a Valley Girl accent when I got there because I didn't want to have a Massachusetts accent, because people would make fun of me. Mm-hmm. And then I learned, of course, in corporate, the no accent. And then, now I'm down in Texas. And like I said, I don't know what's up with my accent now. People are like, where are you from? And I'm like, I don't even know anymore.
You're like, I'm got all these personalities for my accents.
Right. And sometimes I just do an English accent, which is probably very offensive, but like.
Cheerio. Hello, Governor.
A little bit of Cockney in there or something, But,
hello, Governor. Let's get on with this bloody show.
Hello, Governor. Yeah, just like all of a sudden I'll start doing an English accent. Or I've got a really good Scottish. Oh my gosh, I'm going to say it all in one word. A Scottish accent that kind of turns Irish, that turns a little Russian for some reason. I don't know. It just takes a left, turn there. But
it's hilarious. Oh my gosh.
Anyway, this is not the accent podcast or anything like that.
But if you did not stumble upon the wrong show. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, but if you have an accent, please put it into the comments. No.
Or if you can do a good impression of one.
I know. Great impressions of accents are always good.
Personally, I would love to hear a Sean Connery Scottish brogue. I love Sean Connery. Not from you, my friend, but somebody out there has one.
No, I can't do Sean Connery.
I loved Sean Connery. Oh my God, I loved him.
Oh, yeah, he has a wonderful accent. Yeah, definitely. Yes. Definitely.
Rest his Scottish soul.
I'm also thinking like I'm terrible about keeping up with the Joneses, but he has passed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When did he pass? Do you know?
Good question. Let's look it up on the Google.
Okay, the Google. Let's do the Google because the thing is that.
Let's see. La.
I'm going to put 2023. I'm betting on 2023. I don't know because that was a weird year.
Oh, I put in Sean Connery passed, and Google in its infinite wisdom said on Gandalf. I'm like, no. No, not 2020. You are correct on Halloween.
Oh, Halloween of 2020? Oh,
Yes. Yeah,
2020 was a bad year. I mean,
it
obviously for a
was.
lot of reasons, right? But that was also a year that a lot of people had a lot of yeah, there was a
Well,
lot of
yeah,
deaths that year.
the the pandemic was in full force, and we were forced to live in ways that we had not lived in before, and so it was a weird year, and just thinking about like people we lost, and then
Yeah.
thinking like my dad, for example, too. I mean, he was such a social human being, and that year did a number on him because
Oh,
because of his autoimmune disease and his chronic illness and stuff. We had to be very careful, make sure he
yeah.
was at home all the time, and he was used to just getting his car and running down to his brother's shop and sitting there and talking to his brother and his brother's employees and stuff. And I think it was a horrible year for my dad mentally and emotionally. And then I don't know that he ever really recovered from it.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
It was a really tough year for a lot of people, and I know some people really thrived during that time and like worked on themselves, and some people just really went kind of emotionally downhill, and were very isolated. I
Yeah.
remember seeing a couple of friends that were generally very happy, positive people just start posting very sad things on Facebook or any social media. Seeing that's the reason why I started coaching, or rather, I shouldn't say that. I started coaching in 2018, but that's the reason why I decided I'm getting my certification and I'm getting serious about this
Good
because
for you.
I really wanted to see other people thrive. Now, I didn't thrive during that year, but that's another story.
Another story for another episode.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I mean, the podcast is called Stress Mess, right? And it
Yeah.
was a stressful time for everyone, and
Yeah.
I, I think especially for older folks who really appreciated that in person, face to face connection that they were used to, that generation. It was hard for me to help him set up like webcam, and
Yeah.
let's talk to your friends on a webcam. They were like, what are you talking about? And
Hmm.
so some of those things helped me because my friends and I made sure that we did virtual happy hours together, right?
Yes.
And I was very fortunate to have been working with a company that had they just literally bought this new office space. It was a small house that had been turned into office space, and so we made a deal with each other. There was two others. We were like, okay, we're not getting out of our bubble so that we can
Yeah.
keep everybody safe, so that we
Yeah.
could come into the office space and work, because
Oh,
that
wow.
saved my sanity too,
Yeah.
and being able to have that to go to. But my poor dad and many others didn't have that same luxury.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally see that. I know actually during that time, and actually for a couple years afterwards, my family and I had a weekly Zoom meeting. We never had talked before that. Like, I'm just going to say, like, this is a family that doesn't talk to each other. But, like, for some reason during the pandemic, we were just like, we got to get on Zoom. And so we'd have a weekly Zoom. And it was usually on Fridays at like 2 o'clock or something. And it was
Yeah.
just a time for us all to come together and talk about like what's going on in our lives, which is like, what did you do this week? Well, sat at home, like
Yeah.
don't want to go out, like all of
there, there wasn't anywhere to go out, right? Like
right.
it was grocery stores or pick up food or whatever, but you really couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, yeah, you really couldn't. And I know that like, several counties were on lockdown and we were kind of like, how do we escape, to like get out and go camping or something like that and just even just get out into nature,
Yeah.
because I was living in an apartment at the time. So it
Oh
wasn't
God.
even like you could really go outside and anyway, it was a weird time,
It
for
really was. And to think it was only 5 years ago. So 5 years is not that long
yeah.
in the grand scheme of things. But at the same time, it does seem like it was so long ago, and I can't believe that we've made it through, right?
I know, because it's been like 5 years, since that happened. I'm going to say like 5 years. It has been five
It
years,
has
three
been five
months since that
years.
happened. About.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I had a friend that got married right on March 13th of 2020.
Oh my
And it
gosh.
was one of those things like, do you go to the wedding? Because the world was shutting down at that time and they were starting to restrict how many people could be at an event and all of that kind of stuff. And it was so weird because you're just like, well, I mean, of course, it was like my best friend. So of course I'm going to be at her wedding.
Yeah.
And I went to her wedding, but it was still kind of like, do you hug people? And we were like elbow bumping and all of that kind of stuff. But by the end of the night, everybody was just like in each other's faces, and like, of course, there was
Like,
alcohol involved.
we'll figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Well, and it was scary and stressful at the time because we'd not been through anything like this in over 100 years, right?
Yep.
And in our minds, oh my gosh, with the medical advances that we have now, how could we not figure out something to do? And then people were passing away from this disease that we didn't
Yeah.
know anything about. And it was a very scary, stressful time. And even, 2 years later, again, thinking of, not to keep talking about my dad, but when he went into the hospital right before he passed away, he actually did have COVID and we didn't know it.
Oh.
And they wouldn't let me stay.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just got over COVID. I promise. I'm not, isn't there some kind of immunity that I have for a little bit? The doctor's like, well, it could be anywhere between 2 to 6 weeks, right? But we still don't want to take that chance. I'm like,
Oh my.
I've got a mask on, right? I'm good, right? You can't chase me out. I've got to be here with my dad. And so, that was in 2022 and in September of 2022. And
Wow.
we were still over 2 years later, they were still very concerned about it. And I get it. But at the same time, I'm just like, come on, I couldn't believe that 2.5 years later, we were still having to go through that process. And now, thankfully, it's not happening.
Yeah, I know. Whenever I go to schedule an appointment somewhere and I see like their COVID restrictions come up, I kind of like flag them and go, "Is this still valid? Like, do you still want me to wear a
Hey,
mask?"
you need to update your website.
Your website needs to be updated. Your scheduler needs to be updated, or something like that. But then, like, I have heard from a couple of businesses that are like, "Yes, you still need to wear a mask when you come in." And I'm like, okay. I'm going to respect you. Respect it's your business. You choose, but it has been, and I don't know what to say, about it. But
yeah, exactly.
Be respectful.
Having these restrictions and yeah, it's their business, and you're mindful of it, respectful of it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we got through it. Well, even traveling on planes, I still see periodically somebody with a mask on, and I get it, right? Especially if they have some kind of chronic illness or things like that. But what I don't appreciate is the people giving them grief about it. I'm like,
or
people so why are you? Yeah. So just chill, right? As long as they're not yelling at you about wearing a mask and they're just keeping to themselves, then you need to leave them alone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that if you look at other cultures that are a little bit more respectful than some cultures, I'm not calling any cultures out there at all, but when you look at that, people are like, a little bit more respectful. Like when you have a cold and you have to go out, or you have the flu or something like that, you wear a mask to protect other people.
Exactly.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about other people and not getting other people sick. And I appreciate that. I appreciate when I do see somebody wearing a mask, because I either assume that they do have a chronic illness and their doctor said, hey, if you're going to go out into public, you don't want to catch anything, or if they are sick themselves, and hey, I don't want to spread this, whatever I have, stomach bug, any of those kind of things. I totally respect that. So I know I do still hear people making fun of, oh, that person's wearing a mask, what a dummy, and I'm like, whoa, that kind of language. And I'm like, you never know why they're wearing a mask.
Exactly. They could be, well, even before we had COVID, right? Cancer patients who were going through chemotherapy oftentimes wore masks when they were out because they were trying to protect themselves. So, hello, you don't know that person is a cancer patient. So, just back the hell off.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It's just about being respectful of other people.
Yes. Well, I think, as you mentioned, we seem to have a lot of people seem to have lost that, being respectful of others.
Yes.
A whole other conversation.
Yes, definitely. Well, anyway, we won't talk about that. Although that's part of the stress, of today's society right now.
True. It really is. I think so. I think it adds a layer of stress to
Mm.
everything we do when you've got people who are not respectful and you're trying to be respectful, or you're sticking up for those who, may not be able to stick up for themselves just
Yeah.
because, man, I'm like, live and let live, man.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And people that, don't have a voice, or
Mhm.
their voice is not loud enough in our society or something, to be able to advocate, for those people and be
Mhm.
an ally for them. Those are things that I'm very passionate about, and very much. I always say like I'm an ally for all,
Yeah.
and so if you need an ally, I am there for you.
And I think that's one of the reasons you and I get along so well too, is
Right.
that we have the same mindset, the same thought.
Yeah.
I will definitely be that very vocal person who stands up and says, "Hey, the fuck."
Yeah. Right.
I have no qualms about doing that.
Right.
Nobody can accuse me of being the stereotypical Asian or whatever you want to call it, right? Where I'm not going to voice anything like, not this person.
Yeah. Right. I think that is so important, but it does happen. And I know that, like for a podcast to be evergreen and everything, but right, we're in June and Pride Month, so, that is something, that I am seeing a lot of people posting about it. I'm
Mhm.
loving, all of the kind of posts about that and, the love is love and, everything. I love to see that this time of year. And I think it's the same kind of thing too, like when Christmas comes around, and people are posting, great
Yes.
things, about their
Well, too bad they can't take that like feeling from Christmas when they're so magnanimous and be like that the other 11 months of the year.
right.
But again, I don't know if they get swept up in the season, whatever it is, right? But
Yeah.
yes, I'm glad to see that. Again, while your podcast is evergreen, I think June being Pride Month is something that should be
Yeah.
evergreen, can be talked about. And I always and what I tell my friends are too, as I'm an ally for you 365 days out of the year, whether it's June or not.
Right.
I will stand up for you. But I am glad to see that there are people recognizing this month, and it's not so much like, oh, they want to try to hide from it,
Mhm.
considering the DEI,
Oh, yeah.
the bad word that DEI has become, efforts that people are backing up on, and God, I don't even know where to begin with that one.
Well, I mean, that's where I'm going to say that, I'm going to toot my own horn, but that's where I went viral on LinkedIn,
Yes, I
is with
know.
my
But
DEI video.
exactly. But nobody was listening to what you were saying. What you were saying
No.
made so much sense. All they heard were those three letters, that acronym. And that's
Yep.
what I'm saying. When did DEI become a four-letter word, right?
Oh, I know.
And that's a whole other post you could write about, with DEI
Right.
a four-letter word. And it just, people are like, oh my God, diversity and all this stuff. I'm like, you do know that these things were already in place. They just didn't have that, name uh,
Right.
under the DEI umbrella. So,
Right.
I mean, how do you think you have the ADA access for people who are handicapped? I
Mhm.
mean, that's inclusion.
Yep.
Hello. Title IX, sports for girls and young women.
Yep.
Hello.
You're right. I know this guy like literally posted back and commented back on that post. And he said, I am a retired veteran, disabled. And there was another diversity about him and everything. He's just like, I don't get this whole DEI thing. And I'm like, you literally, like, because you're a veteran, you do get special privileges. And because you're disabled, you get special privileges on purpose, because we do recognize that some people don't have the other privileges that other people have. And so therefore you are being pushed ahead, because of those things on purpose, and it's not about necessarily about gender always. It's not about race always or
No,
ethnicity.
no,
It's
it's
about
about
whatever makes you
access.
different,
Yes,
for other people.
it's about equal access for people, whether you are
Right.
disabled, whether you're a veteran, and how DEI became this battle cry for people who are like, oh, diversity hires or whatever else they want to cry about. It blows my mind that they were able to take something that essentially is very beneficial for many groups of people, not just a specific race, specific ethnicity, a specific gender.
Yeah.
And they've turned it into such a dirty word, into literally a 4-lettered word.
Yeah.
And I don't even know how or where we begin to remedy that or fix that, because yelling into the void for those who refuse to listen isn't going to help.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to smile and laughing.
No, I think
like literally when I say screaming into the void all the time, when people do that because they just don't have a voice and it's not being heard. And, like I get that a lot, about that, when people, struggle with depression or, struggle with other things, they feel like they're screaming into the void a lot and nobody's listening to them. And, it's just so important, was it March is mental health? Is it May? Was it May?
Maybe it was, I think it was May.
Okay. Yes, May Mental Health Awareness Month.
I know, right? all the months I can't keep up with it, but truly, I mean, mental health awareness and when you talk about stress, it's definitely part of being aware of that for your own mental health and how to relieve that stress. And I have a good friend who had a very scary health scare incident recently, and one of the things that this person's doctor said was, you've got to relieve the level of stress that is in your life.
Wow.
Because it is affecting these other aspects. It's affecting your health. It's affecting your organs. And people don't realize how bad it can be.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I'm here today for the Stress Mess podcast, because, that's because, and like I want to say my previous intro to this is that I said I was a self-prescribed stress mess is what I said. Anyway, I'm not, because the doctor told me in 2019, because I have a mass on my left adrenal gland that causes too much cortisol in my body. I always jokingly tell people, that I'm like the Hulk, where he's always angry. That's his secret. Me, I'm always stressed. That's my secret. So and my doctor told me, you got to stop stressing. And at the time, gosh, Louise, my dyslexia is really kicking in here. I'm ADHD. But when my doctor told me that, I'm thinking at the time I was working a 90-hour week job.
Oh my God.
And I was absolutely stressed out. And, obviously trying to take a kiddo, at that time, it wasn't in the best relationship as well too.
Yeah.
And that was really stressful. It was just a bunch of compiling things, on my body, and my cortisol levels were so high that I felt like I was radiating heat all the time.
Oh my God.
Like I just felt like I was just, nuclear or something.
Yeah.
And so trying to stress less was a challenge for me. And I think it's a challenge for a lot of people, especially when your doctor tells you not to stress. You're like, how do you do that?
That's only going to cause you more stress, right? If they tell you not to stress. But thinking about, what were some ways that you then handled that stress to help really, relieve the stress and not make it as much of a mess?
Oh, geez. Well,
I did that.
That's a great, I love how you turn this on me. No, shucking. No, how do I do it? That's the thing is that there's a lot that I do. Once again, ADHD. So, all over the place, but, of course I try to keep up on my exercising, quite a bit. I like to walk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So walking is my thing. That relieves a lot of stress. Not so much running. Running is just kind of stressful to me.
Yeah, I don't like running. To me, that raises my cortisol level.
Running. Oh gosh,
that just makes me more stressed. I've never been a runner.
One little thing really throws me off too. So if you put your hair up in a ponytail or even like a bun or something like that, and you got one little hair that comes down and it's like tickling you the entire time, and you're like trying to run.
That you can feel it bouncing. Oh, I know.
Shoelace hit the
oh my gosh.
Those little noises or that little annoyance. I'm just like, I can't run anymore. but walking, I feel like, oh, I'm gliding, I'm doing great for my body. So I do a lot of walking. That is one of my things to relieve stress. In fact, at my desk, I have a walking treadmill at my desk.
Oh, do
So
you?
yeah,
Okay.
when I'm in a meeting, and I don't really have to pay attention. Well, I shouldn't say pay attention. That's not.
You don't really have to
Why am I in the meeting,
talk
right?
or present, right? Like if you're
Yeah.
just in listening
Right,
mode.
exactly. If I'm in listening mode or learning mode or something like that, or I'm trying to concentrate on it, I'll sit there and walk too, because that actually helps, with people that are a certain type of learner. So, me, I'm an all everything kind of learner. So there's people that like to read things, they like to listen to things, they like to do things. I'm a do, kind of kinetics type of learner, where I need to move or
Mhm.
need to like play with something, while I'm actually learning. And so that really is helpful
Oh,
for me to walk and
yeah.
to be able to learn at the same time. So
Oh,
training
that's
and
fantastic.
walking.
No, I can't. I love walking too. I walk the dog every night and I do, and I've always liked walking, right? To me, there was a period of time where I had a trainer who made me do sprints. Ugh, it was the most miserable time, but totally side off topic. But I walk the dog every night. And to me, it's just like this nice time to zone out, because the dog always likes to walk about a mile and a half. So it's a
Yeah.
nice just zone out
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And I can't, but all this to say was like, well, I've tried to do the audiobooks when I'm walking. I
Mhm.
can't concentrate on it because I start thinking about other things as I'm
Oh, yeah.
walking along. And so that's that, but that's me, right? If I'm going to listen to something, I have to like listen to it and pay attention.
Yeah.
If I'm doing something else and trying to listen to it, it doesn't work.
Yeah, definitely. I know, like, when I like to walk, I like to listen to music, because you can zone that out too. It's not like
Mhm.
you have to listen to the music unless you're trying
Yes,
to like
totally different. Yeah,
memorize it
I
or
can't
something.
listen to an audiobook. I can't
Yeah.
listen to a podcast
Yeah.
because I won't pay attention.
Yeah, but when I'm driving, though, I can listen to an audiobook, and I'm actually paying attention to it while I'm driving, because I can kind of zone out while I'm driving,
Yeah,
as a lot of people can, right?
right.
Still paying attention. You're still
Right.
aware, but you gotta, I'm listening to an audiobook or something, so yeah, that's the funny thing. What about you? Like, what do you do to kind of manage your stress?
Well, I used to joke and say I drank a lot, but I
Guilty. No, I'm just checking.
I have reduced the number of drinks that I have during the weekend, not because of anything. It just kind of naturally happened, right?
Yeah.
And so now it's, if I drink, it's not because I'm trying to relieve stress, although sometimes I'm like, okay, I need a drink. It's 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, Really, it's walking the dog really helps in the
Yeah.
evenings. Just taking the time to get up and walk away,
Mhm.
literally just walk around the house, whatever. My watch will tell me it's time to stand up, right?
Yeah.
And so those are things. I do enjoy yoga, but I've never thought of it as something that relaxes me
Mhm.
because I'm so focused on the poses, I can't relax, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because
I can see
I don't
that.
want to fall over. I don't want to do this wrong, whatever. So kudos to everybody who says yoga really helps them to relax. I'd love to get to that point.
Yeah.
Um, or doing something just mindless. I have these
Mhm.
like little games I like to play on my phone. And, if I just want to zone out for something that's completely mindless, I'll spend about 10-15 minutes doing that. But
Yeah.
those are the ways I relieve stress.
I mean, those are all really effective ways. I am one of those people that always has to be productive. So if it's like not something productive, so normally like if I'm walking or something like that, like I said, I'm doing my training at the same time,
Yeah.
or I'm like double duty on something. Or, if I'm watching a show, I got to be doing something while I'm watching the show, to keep productive or, keep something going. And I know
You're
it's
a
like,
multitasker. And I
right. Yeah,
used to
I'm
be like that. I used to be
such
like
a
that. And
multitasker.
I learned to not be like that. I had to force myself to not be like that, not feel like I had to be productive all the time,
Yeah.
because giving yourself that chance to reset
Yeah.
um, and rest is much more helpful and beneficial and helps you to be even more productive. And so I've had
Oh,
to learn to be in that mindset. Because yeah, I was just like you. I was like, wait, if I'm not doing something, I feel like something's missing, something's lost, right?
yeah. Well, I gotta tell you, yesterday was during the training. It is like a really good training, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna do a mindful meditation now." And so I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm sitting there walking and they're like, close your eyes. I got this on videotape. Maybe I'll post it sometime.
You're like,
I was I was filming some B-roll, like for some content, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna close my eyes. So because I'm at my standing desk, with my treadmill and everything. And normally what a smart person would do is they would hold on to their desks so they can walk in a straight line. But I decided to close my eyes and continue to pump my arms for no reason. And I didn't eat it, but I almost did. I mean, like it went right back into my thing. I thank goodness I was walking at a slow pace. If I was going any faster like I normally am, because like normally I'm at a good clip.
Yeah, you might have shot across the room.
I know. I was just thinking like I've never broken a bone, but like that might have. Where's wood? Here.
It's wood.
I got it. I knocked on wood right there. I don't know if this might be particle board, but but like, that was the thing is that I was just thinking like, what the heck was I thinking? So, like not holding on to it. Yeah, I got it on camera. So that's good. It's going to go on to my bloopers of some sort, but
bloopers real.
Yeah. And it's not like I do stupid stuff like that all the time. It's like I'm not immune to that like whatsoever.
Oh my God.
Just like, if I'm gonna do something stupid, that's what I'm gonna do, like that's sort of
thing. And it's caught on camera.
Yeah, exactly. That one in particular was caught on camera, but like
where it says video or it didn't happen. You're like, I got it. I got it for you.
I got you on that one. Got it on video. I don't know why I was doing some B-roll of me walking and doing my training at the same time, but like,
hey, creating content. That's what.
Right.
What
I know. I was like,
I'm creating content.
Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of like joking because I was like, and then I was working on content, creating content. Also, on top of that, content on content.
Content on content.
Content inception. So that's what I was doing. Was like, I don't know what I was thinking yesterday, but
yeah, blooper reel content.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it was. But
it's no longer B-roll; it's blooper reel now.
Right. Exactly. I don't even know what the B stands for in B-roll.
I don't know either. I just always knew what B-roll meant, right? But I don't know idea. Exactly. So here we go. B-roll.
Okay. Hey, we're gonna Google. Hey guys, this is a Googling podcast. If you have any questions, no, I'm just joking. Like if you want us to Google it for you.
Filmmaking and video production, B-roll refers to supplemental footage that complements and enhances the main or A-roll.
Oh, got it. All right.
It's called B-roll.
B-roll. All right. That totally makes sense now.
And it probably made more sense when there was actual film, right? Like they put here's the film that's A-roll, the main thing, and here's the B-roll. But we still call it that because no longer film really truly when we record, but some terms stick around, just like the step and repeat. You know why it's called a step and repeat?
No, tell me.
Because with the old school printing press, that's what you had to put as like instructions, like step and repeat. And now you no longer have to do that. But that when you have that branded whatever screen, it's still called a step and repeat.
Interesting. There's a lot of terminology that we use today that comes from, we don't even know where it came from.
Things that we used to do in the past.
Yes. Yeah. And it's funny because, today, we're still creating that kind of terminology that we're going to use in the future. And people are going to be like, where did that come from?
Exactly.
That's for another podcast. No, I'm joking.
Another time.
Yeah. And thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. Now I'm putting my podcast voice back on. And thank you so much for having oh my God, if I can talk. Thanks so much for, oh my God. Podcast host. Okay. I could do this. Thanks so much for being on the Stress Miss podcast. I can't even say it with a normal face now.
This is how much fun we had.
I know. If you would like to have
let me
this,
try to do my podcast guest voice.
yes.
Why, you're welcome, Samantha. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's a little Pollyanna. I like it.
That's not truly us, right? Well, that isn't even genuinely, authentically us.
Maybe we need to like re-record this podcast and only do our podcast voices.
That's voiced. I don't know. That wouldn't be as much fun.
No, exactly. I think we'd put people to sleep, but all right.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
I think this is a great oh my gosh, I can't talk again. This is a great episode. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I hope it turns out. I know you'll be doing some editing, so I hope you got some good content here. Maybe some good B-roll too.
Yeah, very little editing, very little. I just want people to hear us as we are.
Here we are.
Here we are.
In all of my messiness, right?
Yeah. And thanks for joining.
Of course.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, thanks everybody.